Tonight on the Whiskey Tornado, we're going to review Old Forester 1910 and Stagg Jr. Welcome back to the Whiskey Tornado, guys. I'm your host, Lance. Today we're going to be reviewing 1910 and Stagg Jr. Old Forester 1910. Old Forester owned by Brown-Forman. They also do like Woodford Reserve. A lot of you have heard of that. But this is the fourth whiskey in their Whiskey Row series. And until recently, last year, it's been pretty hard to find, but I'm starting to see it hit store shelves again. So I wanted to review it. We're at 46.5% alcohol by volume, so 93 proof. I got this bottle, I think you can find it for under $60, probably around 55-ish. So I'll try not to butcher the story of 1910, but the way I understand it is the distillery had a fire and there was whiskey in the lines, or maybe in the vats, and they couldn't keep that whiskey in either. As you guys know, in order for it to be classified as bourbon, you have to put it in new charred oak barrels. So they had to put already matured whiskey or bourbon back in a barrel to store it. So it basically had a second maturation process. And all those wonderful things that charred oak barrels bring out, like the vanillas and the sugars and the caramels, when you do that for a second maturation process, all those things are amplified. So that's basically what you're getting in this. Very similar to Woodford Double Oaked, but different, but you can taste those characteristics. So let's get into a pour and go through the nosing and tasting. All right, we got a nice pour here. So we're gonna go ahead and, I like to coat the glass, guys, with the oils. Helps open up a little bit. Spin it a little bit. The nose on this, guys. This is one of those outlier whiskeys. This is a whiskey, like if you took 4 or 5 blind whiskeys and you smelled this, you would instantly know what it is. It's just different. It's different, but in a good way. So on the nose here, you definitely can tell the second maturation process. You smell that oak and coffee and almost like powdered sugar. It smells so sweet. It's like powdered sugar and coffee. Oh, and it actually kind of it resembles Woodford Double Oaked. If you've ever had Woodford Double Oaked on the nose, actually those two might be a little confusing if you smell them side by side, but it does resemble Woodford Double Oaked a lot, which is one of my favorite whiskeys. So let's get into the taste. Cheers. Oh. Really comes through. Nose comes through on the palate. You get those coffee flavors, toffee, sweet toffee, almost like a sweet toffee coffee drink at Starbucks. I will say, the only thing, this is so close to being just a remarkable whiskey. The only thing that keeps it from that is it's thin. I think this is 4 years old. I'm not sure if they really say, but I think it's 4 years old or so. Doesn't really have an age statement on it. But you can tell the age is a little thin. If this were at a higher proof, it's a 46.5%. Oh, if this were bottled over 50%, I think you'd have more of that viscosity, more of the mouth coating, more of those coffee, toffee flavors, and that sweetness, and it wouldn't be quite as thin. Oh, so good though. Now, I will say, if you're new to whiskey and you love coffee, this is your jam, man. You need to go get this. It is really delicious. I've been drinking whiskey for a little bit, so for me, it's just a little bit thin. So actually, I'm really interested to blend it with the Stagg Jr. and see if we can fix that. But I don't want to change the flavors of this because, like I said, if this were just a little bit thicker, this would be one of my favorite whiskeys. Actually, it probably is one of my favorite whiskeys, even though it's a little bit thin. It is delicious. It's sweet, coffee, toffee. Get that char. The finish is short. Again, that's the only knock I have on. A little thin, finish is short, a little bit young, but man, it is a delicious whiskey. All right, guys, for our second bourbon review of the night, we have Stagg Jr. Stagg Jr. Produced from Buffalo Trace. Stagg Sr., just Stagg, is part of the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, which is pretty impossible to find. You're looking at a whiskey that's, I think 15 to 17 years old and pushing 70% alcohol. And this is its younger brother. And they come out with these 4 times a year. And so you can tell I'm a big fan. I have a couple bottles. I always try to keep one. If I see one, I usually buy it because they're pretty hard to find. Usually you can find them for MSRP around $50 to $55. I have seen them on the secondary market. Some liquor stores price them out of control at $150, $200 a bottle. I would not pay that for these. This particular one, I think, is from spring of 2018. We're at 63.95% alcohol by volume. And this new one I just got and found is 66.15%. This is I believe, 7 to 9 year old. Again, high ABV. This is not a beginner's whiskey. This will toss you around the room. So let's get a pour and get into the Stagg Jr. Now, as you can see, guys, I've had about 3/4 of this bottle. And what I found is Stagg Jr. is definitely one you want to let open up. You want to let some of that alcohol burn off. If you're smelling this, you don't want to get your nose too far in there just because it's such a high ABV. And when you sniff it, you want to kind of keep your mouth open and inhale through your mouth and your nose at the same time. Oh, this is just so beautiful. You can just see how dark the color is on Stagg Jr. And with that high ABV, the flavors are so concentrated. And this is just caramel candies, like the soft chews with cherry. Oh, it's just so gorgeous. And then that oak is there. You can smell the oak, but it just smells so dense. Oh, it's so nice. But like I said, this is a whiskey that's not for beginners. If you're new into whiskey and you drink this, you're just gonna taste fire. It's gonna burn your mouth off. Cheers. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. As you guys get more into whiskey, this is one that you have just got to have on your shelf. Chances are you're not going to find its older brother, but this one you can find, especially here in Illinois. But the flavors are just so concentrated, and it's caramel, it's cinnamon, it's cherry, it's like cherry cola kind of. It's oak. It's a perfectly balanced whiskey. I tell you, a lot of people will add water to this because it's such high ABV. I've tried it with water and I think it ruins it. I don't like water with this. And as you let it sit and as you let the alcohol burn off, I mean, you can let this sit for 10, 20, 30 minutes and it just gets sweeter and better and tamed down. It's just a beautiful whiskey. Oh, so good. All right. So I'm kind of really excited to blend these two. We have one that I love the flavors, and I think this would be one of my all-time favorite whiskeys if it just had more age, had a little bit more viscosity, and had a longer finish. And so we've got Old Forester, and we're going to take a little bit of Stagg Jr. What I want to do is, Stagg Jr. is a pretty perfect whiskey on its own, so I don't want to try to take Stagg Jr. and change it. What I do want to do is take Old Forester 1910 and try to add a little depth to it, a little viscosity, a little longer finish, without changing the flavors too much. So I think what we'll do is we'll go 2 parts 1910, and we'll add 1 part Stagg Jr. And I might even go less than 1 part Stagg Jr. See if we can make this 1910 a little bit more interesting. I'm not sure if we can, but I think these 2 whiskeys blended together is going to be a good blend. I'm really looking forward to it. As you guys know, there's only one thing left to do, and that's blend these 2 amazing whiskeys. We're gonna make a whiskey tornado. We're gonna see if the blend is better than its parts. If you want a chance to win one of these whiskey blends that I make, comment in the comments on YouTube. Every week I pick a winner, and you can check back in 2 weeks. We give the blend a chance to marry, and me a chance to get the blend to the winner. In a couple weeks we do a follow-up episode, and we blind test the blend against its parts and see if we made that magical blend we're looking for. As always, guys, thanks so much for your support. Like, comment, subscribe, share this with your friends, and just thanks for being along on my whiskey journey. Thanks. Cheers, guys.